People have been killed
A
and
desperate
dozens of others
situation
wounded.
expected to get worse.
It sometimes seems like we're living in a world of chaos. It feels overwhelming and out of our control. But at Enactus Laurier, our team of over 50 passionate leaders focused on what we could control, and we took action.
Today, we're going to tell you about two of our most ambitious initiatives to tackle the housing crisis in Northern Canada and bring safe milk to children in East Africa.
We started by actively listening to understand the root causes of these issues, and what we found is that sometimes out of chaos comes clarity.
Housing is a fundamental human right, but in Northern Canada, over 31% of Indigenous households fail to meet one or more of the national housing standards with no affordable alternative. Over 47,000 people are living in either overcrowded, unhealthy, or unaffordable homes, with a typical home in a remote northern community costing up to $900,000.
And this is only part of the problem. Indigenous homes across Canada are being severely impacted by climate change. They're situated on land that's at risk of forest fires and flooding, and the permafrost beneath the soil is melting. And it's getting worse. Northern Canada is warming at 3 times the global rate.
Last August, we flew to a remote community in the Northwest Territories to speak with those directly affected, and we learned why building homes in remote northern communities is so challenging.
At a minimum, the homes need to meet the national housing standards, but that isn't enough. They need to be resilient to the climate impacts they are facing, as well as sustainable to reduce future impacts. They must account for the extreme cold in the most energy-efficient way, the short building season, as well as the logistical constraints of bringing building materials to communities not accessible by road.
We can't achieve this by building more homes the same old way. Traditional construction is a major contributor to climate change and does not prepare the homes to withstand climate impacts.
By sifting through the chaos, the answer became clear. A new approach is needed that brings together existing housing innovations in a way that's never been done before. At Caponia Innovations, we've worked closely with experts over the past year and a half to create future-proof housing for vulnerable communities in Canada's north.
The homes will be built with structural insulated panels that use a unique patent-pending process inspired by the marine industry, using fiberglass and composites to ensure the homes are watertight. And helical pile foundations will raise the homes above the floodline.
The exterior will be sprayed using a fire-retardant coating made from sustainable cork. And to ensure the stability of the foundations, we are working with leading scientists to integrate thermosiphon technology into the piles to preserve the permafrost.
The panels will be manufactured off-site to minimize on-site construction waste, and the insulating core upcycles over 600,000 plastic bottles. We're using water-resistant interior wall and ceiling panels that are 100% recyclable and have prioritized the use of renewable energy sources while implementing both passive house and net zero principles into our design.
When assembled, the panels create an airtight cube with an effective R40 insulating core and no thermal bridging, making the homes almost twice as energy efficient to protect against the harsh northern climate.
The building envelope assembles in less than 4 days on a foundation that is ready in 1 day, and the interior panels install 4 times faster than drywall, making the home ready for finishing touches in record time.
With many Indigenous communities in the north not accessible by road, we'll be transporting our materials in sea cans by barge and ice road, and are working with logistical experts to find the most economical and efficient transportation routes.
These same logistical challenges mean that obtaining finishings for homes in remote northern communities is a huge issue. So we've partnered with IKEA. They've created customized interior packages to truly make each house a home.
Our complete building materials package will be sold as a house-in-a-box kit to our construction partners who will handle final assembly on site. Northern Industrial Construction, a company with extensive experience in remote Arctic and subarctic locations, is our main partner in the Northwest Territories. They will be promoting our solution to their contacts in the north.
Our 1-bedroom tiny home design will be priced starting at $297,000 fully furnished. Less than 1/3 the cost of a typical home in a remote community, it is not only affordable, but is rapidly deployable and protects residents against climate impacts both today and in the future.
We've focused on tiny homes in order to provide an option for individuals and couples to transition into healthier living situations. The need for these homes is best described by Dr. Joe Dragon.
So what happens to these people that want to be able to transition? There's nothing. Right? So what ends up happening? They end up being on the street. I think there's a huge, right across the country, an opportunity for tiny homes
Key to the success of our design is working in partnership with the communities to create spaces that both respect their culture and suit their daily lives. To take this one step further, we've secured $10,000 in funding to provide paid internships for Indigenous youth, who will work with us on an ongoing basis to ensure appropriate adaptations are made to the homes.
Ultimately, our vision is not only to build homes, but also build capacity in the communities. As a first step, local labor will be trained to help construct and maintain the homes, building skills and reducing their dependence on outside suppliers.
And to support their housing needs post-construction, we have secured a partnership with the NWT Business Development and Investment Corporation, who have committed to investing up to $41 million to support the creation of Indigenous-led businesses, with our team providing business planning and mentorship support.
Our concept has been externally validated, having been chosen as a top solution in challenges run by both our federal government and global design firm IDEO. Together with other awards, we've raised over $250,000 this year and are shortlisted for an additional pool of $40 million.
Unfortunately, with the recent devastating wildfires in the Northwest Territories, our first build originally scheduled for this fall has been delayed. But we're excited to say that we've secured a site for our first model home and are ready to start building in the spring of 2024. And this is only the beginning. We've received interest from all 3 Indigenous groups in 7 communities across Canada.
And we will continue to expand with the support of our federal government. The Regional Director General has indicated a vision of replicating our concept in Indigenous communities across the North.
With current interest, we project over the next 2 years to provide 22 people a healthy place to call home, 30 jobs to build capacity in the communities, and over $2 million in revenue.
But we didn't stop with housing. Over the past year, our team has focused on another fundamental human right, access to safe and nutritious food. We focused on East Africa, which has the highest global incidence of milk-borne disease, with 30% of deaths in children under 5.
The milk that they are drinking can contain a number of harmful pathogens, including MERS, a coronavirus 10 times deadlier than COVID-19. Pasteurization would destroy these harmful pathogens, but up to 90% of milk in East Africa is sold raw through the informal, unregulated market.
Unfortunately, existing pasteurization solutions simply don't work for small-scale milk sellers. They are too large and expensive for individual use, rely on power sources that they do not have access to, and require industrial-level training to operate.
The answer was clear to us. They need a simple solution to this complex problem. So we developed Sophie.
With our device, users simply need to heat a pot containing milk, clamp on the adjustable device, turn on the whisk to stir the milk, and our proprietary thermometer with a simple 3-color LED display will indicate when conditions for pasteurization have been met. It is compact, does not require on-the-grid power, and allows farmers to easily and affordably pasteurize a pot of milk in as little as 3 minutes.
The Sophie device comes with a memory management system that tracks crucial usage data, empowering regulatory bodies to ensure the safety of the milk and providing valuable insights to vendors to improve their efficiency and profits.
Our project began 2 years ago when we placed first out of 1,000 participants in an international competition judged by the UN, UNICEF, and World Health Organization. This year, we've raised over $127,000 in additional funding and in-kind support.
This has helped us to continue R&D with industry professionals and academics. We've created 5 different prototypes, have a patent pending for our final design, and are in the process of writing a paper about the efficacy of our technology with an expert in microbiology.
We are working with a professor in Kenya to build a local engineering team to manufacture our product. It'll be distributed to farmers and milk vendors through partnerships with local government entities and NGOs, who will help educate the milk sellers on the importance of pasteurization. Working with them, we have already run 2 workshops in Kenya with over 100 farmers.
The device we priced at $68, with a margin for Safi of 40%. More importantly, milk sellers will receive on average 82% more for the pasteurized milk, allowing for a payback period of just 7 days.
Our concept was recently selected by a global hardware accelerator who chose us out of over 2,000 applicants based on the strength of our business model.
We recently came back from our second trip to East Africa this year. After being given the go-ahead from the Rwandan government, we worked in collaboration with our local partners to pilot test the Sophie device with milk sellers, all of who are women. The impact on their lives is best described by Laurent Munyankusi.
And once they increase their income levels, actually, some farmers have been able to pay for their children, paying better schools, paying school fees, paying school materials, and everything they need to make sure that their children can go to schools.
The largest milk cooperative in Rwanda is looking to distribute our device across all 10 of their collection centers. And in Kenya, we are working with a social enterprise to sell our device across their 400 kiosks that serve 500,000 farmers each year.
We recently presented at the African Dairy Conference, where we established partners and were personally invited by the Minister of Agriculture to scale into Uganda. We will also be visiting Oman next month to discuss a contract for an additional 15,000 devices.
During our pilot, 11 milk sellers started using the Sophie device, resulting in 7,500 liters of pasteurized milk sold and giving over 1,700 East Africans immediate access to safe milk.
With current relationships alone, we project over 1 million in revenue by the end of next year, increased income of almost 4,000 per year for the milk sellers, and over 10 million people getting access to safe milk that could potentially lower the rate of milkborne disease by 2.5%.
But the potential impact is much larger. We are working with the UN Technology Bank to endorse the use of our product in the world's 45 least developed countries. Unsafe milk is a global issue. East Africa is just the beginning.
At Enactus Laurier, we found clarity in a world full of chaos. Clarity to address fundamental rights for vulnerable communities around the globe.
At Caponia Innovations, we took entrepreneurial action to tackle the housing crisis in Canada's north.
We brought together cutting-edge innovations that address the devastating climate impacts they're facing.
Creating future-proof housing that incorporates the voice of the community.
To transition Indigenous peoples to a healthy place they can call home for generations.
And at Sophie, we took entrepreneurial action to reduce the spread of milkborne disease in East Africa.
We created the world's first off-the-grid pasteurization device
That's been successfully piloted with farmers, improving their livelihoods.
Enabling families to feel confident their children are drinking milk that is both nutritious and safe. We are
Enactus Canada.
Yeah.
5 minutes Q&A session begins now. Only judges can ask the questions.
Thank you for your excellent presentation and the great work that you're doing. Two questions for you. One is, do you see economies of scale coming into play when you work with the community? For example, in cost savings, right now $165,000 for houses going in. And also, what's the expected build time? You talked about very quickly putting these houses together. How quickly do you think that might happen?
Certainly. We're currently focused on building our first pilot home in a central location so that the communities can come visit and give feedback. However, economies of scale will come into play. One of the things that we're interested in doing is working with the BDIC and our panel supplier to create a manufacturing plant up in the north. It will not only reduce the cost via economies of scale, as you mentioned, but it'll also provide jobs for the local citizens.
And then in regard to your second question, our homes can actually go up in a matter of 2 weeks, extensively faster than traditional stick build, and because we focused on using climate resilient materials as well, they'll last for generations.
Yep. Congratulations for the presentation. 2 questions as well. So on the housing, have you mentioned about this production facility? My question is related to that. Have you already secured any production contracts, or because I understood that the painting or the materials are actually developed by you. Is that right?
What we've done at Caponia Innovations is bring existing housing solutions together in a way that has not been done before, specifically suited for these criteria that and challenges that the communities face. In regards to the manufacturing, our panel manufacturer is actually automating their systems, which makes it extensively faster to create the panels and get them shipped into these communities as well.
Yeah. And then on the milk device, the questions is on maintenance. Have you figured that out already?
So currently the lifespan of the product is around 2 to 3 years based on the material that's built into the product. We're looking to modularize the pieces so that it can be easily replaced, almost like a Lego brick. The whisk on the product can be taken off easily if there's any updates. We're also looking to train local labor on the ground with the partners that we have so that maintenance can be done on the ground with us, without us having to be there.
Thank you much for a very nice presentation. The question I have, a key to your houses are the panels. And what sort of material, raw materials, are being used for the panels? I heard something about plastic bottles, I heard about some cork for the painting and so on. Could you please elaborate on this?
The panels are created with upcycled plastic bottles to create the insulation foam core, and then they're covered in a fiberglass sheathing that makes them completely watertight and airtight.
On your milk project, great presentation by the way, you mentioned about predicted revenues. Do you already have contracts in place?
So from the current pilots that we have set up from our trips to Africa, as well as the trip to Oman next month, we have some potential contracts through their networks of farmers and milk sellers that are available.
Excellent presentation. For the houses, you mentioned that the average cost with the furniture, et cetera, is about 297 Canadian dollars. How is that affordable to the different native groups, and how will they be able to transition into these houses?
Certainly. In conversations with the Dene Nation Housing Secretariat and NWT Housing, we learned that between $250,000 and $350,000 is a sweet spot for affordability within these communities. Our home, as you mentioned, starts at 297,000 Canadian or 205,000 euros, which not only falls right within this sweet spot, but we've worked closely with our suppliers to bring down the carrying cost of our home below the national affordability threshold for our target demographic.
Have you measured the environmental impact of recycling 600,000 plastic bottles?
We're working closely with our panel supplier to measure the impact. He has mentioned that, well, they have mentioned that it is very much more sustainable than traditional construction. Typically, when building in the north, a lot of the materials are wasted because they're left out in the harsh climate. With our panels, they can be left and not be wasted and sit through seasons in order to complete construction.
Okay, and just if it's totally airtight, what about the air quality, indoor air quality?
We're working with an innovative HRV system that is using smart technology to actually track when air exchanges need to be done in the homes. And they are also, in northern communities, they tend to boil their meat a lot, which causes a lot of humidity in the homes as well. So by using this smart technology, we're negating the user error failure for HRV systems typically because it'll automatically exchange the air.
The time is up. Let's thank the Enactus team from Canada.